the cost of beef has soared, but the Trump administration plans to bring it down with some help from Argentina. Jeff Flock joins us now from Philadelphia with more. Hi, Jeff.
Taylor, we always like to show you something you don't typically get to see. Yeah, this isn't something you see in the supermarket. That is prime rib right there, and those tomahawk steaks, maybe you know, that's the brisket. This is a quarter of a cow, and that there, well, that's a shoulder right there, and up there is where the head came off. Maybe that showed you a little too much there. That's what's going to be coming in from Argentina. At least some of that will be. Depends on what you're looking for in terms of beef. Take a look at the number. Right now, beef in the U.S. last month, December, $6.68 a pound for ground beef. That's what's going to be coming from Argentina. Dominic Creamy, third-generation butcher here in Philadelphia. Is that going to bring the price down when they start bringing ground beef in from Argentina?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, yes, it's going to drop the price of the ground beef. It's mostly lean ground beef.
Mm-hmm. Not the tomahawk steaks, though, not the fancy stuff.
No, it's not going to touch the prime beef. It's not going to touch the U.S. steer market.
But it is a significant amount, Taylor. Take a look at the number. It's 80,000 tons, and that will come in without a tariff. And that's about $800 million worth of beef coming in. So that's going to have an impact.
Yes, definitely will have an impact, especially on the ground beef side.
And especially on the ranchers. Fox Digital talked to a rancher down in Georgia, as well as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. He says it's the meat packers that's a problem. They've created a system, says this rancher, where they win no matter what at the cost of everyone else. When cheap imported beef enters the system, all it does is allow packers to increase their margin. That's Will Harris, a Bluffton, Georgia rancher. You agree with him?
Oh, I definitely agree with him. Yeah, the industry is run by the big markets.
And when you say the big packers, now put them up there. I think we've got a graphic that kind of depicts them. It's JBS, Cargill, Tyson.
Tyson, exactly.
You say they run it. What do you mean?
Well, they have the market tied up. I mean, they do all the production, and they send them out in boxes. They're extremely fast. They're about numbers.
Well, the Justice Department, according to the Trump administration, is now looking into whether or not those packers have colluded in some fashion in terms of price fixing and that sort of thing. Is that something that we should be doing?
So I think that we definitely need to.
You might not want to piss too many people off here, pardon my French.
No, you're right. But, you know, I think that they hold the market so tight that they call the shots.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues. You know,
looking into.
Yes, absolutely.
Dominic Creamy. Third generation, Capuccio's Meats. If you're ever in Philadelphia, come down to the Italian market and you'll get, something you don't normally get to see or taste. Back to you, Taylor.
Jeff, thank you so much. Dagan, it was the end of that really interests me when they talk about the big four that seem to have an oligopoly, if you will, a corner of this market that they have taken over, and it is high barriers of entry for new entrants to participate.
Let me speak, cattleman or cattle rancher. How dare you point the finger at us, a U.S. cattle rancher or that industry, for high prices when you have a small number of gigantic companies, most of whom are owned by foreigners, foreign corporations, controlling meat packing. So JBS, Brazilian company, National Beef, largely controlled by a Brazilian company, and then Smithfield Foods, the biggest U.S. pork producer, owned by a Chinese company. And therein lies, according to cattlemen, how dare you blame us for the high prices when a lot of the cost is related to the control of meat packing by these giant companies, one. Two, whatever happened to country of origin labeling that is mandatory? Don't the American people deserve to know where your beef comes from? Because that is not mandatory. It is only just beginning to be voluntary. Country of origin labeling. And high prices are self-correcting in agriculture and in ranching and in beef, where the high prices will reduce consumption, and the cattle ranchers will eventually be able to raise more heads of cattle, and the prices will come down. But instead, the U.S. under President Trump has turned to Argentina, so farm beef rather than U.S. raised. And it's a head shaker for people in the ranching business.
Can I throw 2 stats at you that I think are interesting? This is not an area of expertise for me, but cattle inventories are at their lowest level since 1951. Okay, so that's a supply issue. The other one is and again, there are very few meat packers. It's concentrated. If they had a lot of market power, I think you'd expect the spread between what they pay to ranchers and then what they get from wholesalers to be growing. It hasn't. That spread that they make is basically where it's been for the last 50 years. It went way up under COVID, but it's come way down from those highs. So maybe they have a ton of market power, but at least from the USDA data I've seen, it's not showing up in the margin that they make. So I don't know for sure if you can pin it totally on an oligopoly here.
And I would just add, I think there are high barriers to entry, which is why these big companies that are owned by foreign entities have been able to get a foothold. It's just not that easy of a business with all the USDA regulations, the overhead costs of running these plants, and all the scrutiny, and some of the risk that they take on too. So if we want more competition or we want mom and pop players, Trump has talked about deregulating in other areas. It's food, so you have to be careful with that. I'm not saying just throw out the baby with the bathwater and open it up to anybody, but if you want competition and other people to have an opportunity to get into the market, you need to make it a little bit easier for them to do that. So there's a little catch-22 there.
High barrier to entry, yes. Very tight margins, yes. But that's why I welcome this, like bringing it in to kind of reset the price, to bring more supply onto the market, reset the price, and then let the U.S. cattle ranchers do what they need to do. But I think it's important to reset the price right now, and I think that's
you reset the price by organically reducing demand, and high prices do that.
But that's, politically, man, when people are paying a lot for beef, it's like, we're paying a lot for beef. Do something about it.
But politically acting sometimes exacerbates the problem.
I agree, yeah.